Hey, hey, hey. All right. So today we are going to be painting our watermelon cupcake attachment that goes with the three-piece decor set for this series. Now, we have already painted our door hanger, and if you haven't seen that yet, just put the word door hanger down in the comments, and I will make sure that you have the link for that as well so that you can go back and watch that replay, and it is available for anyone who wants to watch it. But if you want to paint along with us today we are going to be painting the cupcake. It's a mini. Some people call it minis. Some people call them attachments. I tend to say attachments, but it just means a smaller size. So this is about a 10-inch. Good morning, Cindy. Well, I guess it's afternoon now, isn't it? So this is a smaller size. It's about a 10-inch. It is, I intend to use it as a porch cleaner attachment. So I will be using some industrial size Velcro and I will be attaching it to my porch cleaner outside of my house. But you can use it as a shelf sitter. Say that fast without blushing a little bit. You could also use it as a, what is that called? An interchangeable door hanger attachment. This fly from yesterday is still hanging with us, and he is so, it's how I feel about him. He's driving me crazy. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. Let's paint. Let's start with our wild berry. That's dragon fruit. Where'd wild berry go from yesterday? We're going to grab wild berry if I can find it. Oh, it's right in front of my face. And if you want the list and the supply list, paint list, supply list, where to find the digital downloads, the digital downloads are a gift from me to you. Just put the word cupcake in the comments and I'll come back and link all the things that we talked about today, whether it be the digital downloads, where you can order a blank bundle, the door hanger, the attachment, and the six-piece garland that we're going to paint tomorrow. Let's see if I talk about anything specific that has a link to it, like something that you can get at Hobby Lobby or something that I use specifically here in when I paint, just put the word cupcake down in the comments and I will come back and link that as well. Let me just pull up the live so I can see your comments. Let's go to my page. Sorry, I've had coffee and very little food in my system, so I'm a little jittery. Oh, hey Terry, are you about to head to bed? You about to head to bed, sister? All right, I'm not going to worry about. I started fussy painting this, but I'm really not worried about it. So I'm just going to paint this whole thing. Just because it's a small little piece, I don't really care about keeping it organized, honestly. This pink, I'm going to put this underneath it just so I don't make a massive mess. Let's see. I should probably use my 2-inch base coat brush, but we're already committed. I'm just base coating this the wild berry color. I love this color. I love using it. I love carousel pink. I love poodle skirt pink and dragon fruit. I love the whole pink line from DecoArt. Most of the pinks are just amazing pinks and very usable. But wild berry, gosh, there's just something that there's just a sweet spot that it hits. It's a special place. Got a little bit on my table. How are y'all doing today? Has anybody else been kind of in a fog where you don't realize it's Wednesday? Like my whole day I kept telling myself, oh, tomorrow when we go to church, no, today is Wednesday. We're going to church today. Like today is church day. So in my brain, I keep thinking it's Tuesday and I keep frustrating myself. And if you're catching the replay, it's, whatever day it is for you. Do you ever get in one of those fogs where you're just like all day you're trucking along and you're just going your merry little way, and then it hits you that the day you thought it was, it's not that day. It's very much further in the week than, or if you're waiting for the weekend and it's still early enough in the week that you're like, oh, I still have so many more days left. That's kind of how I'm rolling today. Hey, got me some Pepsi over ice and fun. Ooh, that sounds like a good old snack. I like Funyuns. Going to bed in a bit. Okay, well, you get you a little snack. We'll hang out until you call it quits. Okay, so we have got this completely base coated. I'm gonna give a nice second little coat to this top section, but I'm not gonna go too crazy with it. The reason I base coated the entire thing, one, because we have white that's gonna go here, and anything that's red heavy, you really don't want there to be a transition line. I like to go ahead and overpaint as in like for a base coat. I like to start with my red shades first and end with white, which a lot of people do it differently, but I do it that way only because if I go ahead and overpaint, like this whole little scallop section right here is intended to be white. If I were to fussy paint this, if I overpainted this little section of the cupcake and then I went to go put white on top of this, then whenever I go to seal it, that white and the pink, which is red heavy, right, is there's going to be a transition line. The red is going to bleed through. It's going to seep through the white layer, and you're going to get this really funky orangey, yellow, rusty looking color. Speaking of Pepsi, and I'd like to avoid that. So I just go ahead and for good measure, paint way more than I need to. So in this case, since it's only 10 inches, I painted the whole daggum thing. All righty. I'm with you, Terry. I needed something to drink too. Hey, Michelle. Hey, everyone. Okay. So we've got this base coated. We do need to blow dry it. If we want to add a second coat, see how it's still shiny right here? Matte acrylic. So most of your craft acrylics are matte based, okay? So matte acrylics will dry down matte. And you kind of see the magic happening as it's dulling down here. And watch, as I blow dry, if you've never messed with matte acrylics or you kind of bounce between different paint lines or products, knowing the characteristics of the paint that you're using will help you use the paint. So matte acrylics build on top of itself, but it only does so if it's dry. So we're going to dry it. And when we're building opacity, it doesn't have to be bone dry. It just needs to be dry to the touch, okay? As long as you're not gooping the paint on, it just needs to be dry to the touch. Like I said, we're not going to be too fussy about it. I just want to make sure that I have full coverage of this wild berry before I go messing with the ombre, because we're going to ombre, or see, what's another word for that? What's another word? Kind of like a sunset. We're going to blend. I don't like using the word blend when I really mean ombre, because blending typically means that you're creating a shape with your paint, with multiple shades of paint, and really we're creating a background, right? Usually when you do an ombre, it's as a background. So blend is another word we can use, but it's just not the most accurate word. Blending is what's happening as you create an ombre. Okie dokie, there we go. Okay. Now let's blow dry that. Y'all know me, I like to work with dry bases. Oh, what's happening? What happened? Why are you in the ER? Michelle, I hope everything's okay. Okie dokie. So we've got, it's dry to the touch. It's still a little chilly here. This is bone dry. It's room temperature. But when I put my hand here where I just painted, it's a little chilly compared to what I know to be bone dry. So I can still paint over this. I just need to be careful. If I wanted to be for sure that it's not going to smear and it's not going to pull up base coat paint, I would make it bone dry. But we're not going to be that fussy about it. All right, so I have my cupcake turned sideways, and I have that done for a reason. I did not do that yesterday whenever I painted my door hanger, and I lucked out. I got lucky because my shading, my blending for my ombre is it's straight across. Now I'm not going to make the possibility for that mistake again today. I'm going to turn it sideways and paint towards myself. Our arms paint a straighter line if we're painting towards ourselves than we do across. Okay, our it's just the mechanics of our bodies. So it's like our arms want to halo or rainbow. See how like it's kind of like as you pull across, your shoulder naturally wants to pull back. So we want to turn it sideways and paint this way. Okay. Okay. Good talk. Alrighty, we're gonna bring in our carousel pink and our white. Okay, so we started off with dragon fruit. Now we got carousel pink and white. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna make it lighter, and then we're gonna fade it into straight from the bottle wild berry here. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, let's see, how do we want to do this? Let me brainstorm this. Okay, I think I'm gonna start wild berry and carousel pink on my brush. So I'm gonna put on my palette carousel pink, wild berry, and I'm gonna take a brush. I'm gonna take you can take about a 1-inch or a 3/4, which is a lot smaller. But I'm gonna take my base coat brush. And I'm not gonna worry about I have a question. Give me a sec to type it out loud. I have a small brush. The paint is filled up in it. I can only use the tip. How do I get rid of the paint? Soak it in 90% alcohol. Okay, so get some rubbing alcohol that's 90%. You can get it at Walmart. It's like a couple of dollars for a big old bottle of it. And just let it soak. Let it soak in that, and then let it soak in some warm water, and then rinse it out, and then let it soak in the alcohol again. It's going to be a back and forth until you can loosen up that paint. Now, another thing that you can use is vodka. So if you have vodka laying around, there's something about vodka that breaks up the plastic in the paint. Because you got to think our paints are plastic based. So you want something that's going to break down plastic. Now, whatever breaks down plastic is also going to break down the glue. So don't be shocked if it's that built up in this part of your brush. Don't be shocked if this glue comes undone. Don't worry, that can be fixed. But you really want to fill a container about up to wherever you think that. So say you think that the paint is stuck all the way up here, go ahead and submerge. I don't normally like submersing the entire brush up to the metal. I like to do it right before the metal, but I would go ahead and submerge it about here in the 90% rubbing alcohol or vodka and let it sit. Let it sit for as long as your heart will let it sit. I wouldn't do it overnight though. If it's that bad, I'd let it sit for maybe an hour and then go rinse it out. Let it sit in some warm water or some hot water, and then rinse that out, and then put it back in the rubbing alcohol or vodka and go back and forth until you start getting movement, and get the movement every time you rinse it out. Like try to wiggle all that paint loose. I don't drink tea. Why? They sell itty bitty little ones that you could use just for this. You don't have to drink to own vodka. A lot of painters just own it because it is a really good it's a really good paint remover. I would not, with the brushes that we use, I would not use any kind of paint thinner. I wouldn't use like turpentine or anything like that. But I mean, in a pinch, if you want to try it, but if it's one of your favorite brushes, I just wouldn't go that route. They do sell brush cleaners, and I just don't feel. I feel like they are for maintenance, not for lack of better words, a brush ER situation. Okay, so I'm going to take my wide brush. It's a flat brush, and I'm going to dip my brush in both the wild berry and the carousel pink. Okay, I'm going to go about I don't know, about where this dip is. See these dips right here? I'm going to go about right there and put the transition. So see where that transitions from pink to pink? I'm going to make sure the carousel pink is going towards the south end, the bottom half of my cupcake. I'm going to put that there. See that right there? That's the wild berry. That's the carousel pink. And I'm just going to go straight across. Okay, I'm going to go straight across. The wider your brush, the better, unless you're working on a super tiny piece. And as I'm going across, I'm ever so slightly, like just a hair at a time, moving towards the bottom, okay? If your paint starts drying on you, that's okay. Spritz it with some water or add more paint to your brush, okay? So we're going to go back up, come back down, okay? But what you want to do is you want to make sure whatever's right here closest to the very edge, you want to make sure that is straight from the bottle carousel pink, whatever transition color that you're working with, okay? I'm going to clean my brush. I'm going to now take white and put it on the other side of my carousel pink. So see how I have wild berry, carousel pink. I'm about to do white. Okay. Doesn't need a lot. I'm now going to take my wide brush and I'm going to dip it in both the carousel pink and the white. Okay. Same process. I'm going to match the carousel pink. So I'm going to flip it over, carousel pink to carousel pink. And I'm going to start on the very edge. If you notice, I didn't put the transition line of my paint on the transition line of this paint. I tried to match it up a little further down. Okay. I'm going to ever so slightly run my brush down. I'm just making sure, and I can go back up and go north. Got this one little spot right there that doesn't want to transition. Okay, there we go. I'm going to spritz it with water just a little bit, just to kind of give my paint a little bit of movement. Say you feel like it's not transitioning very well. As long as your paint is still wet, you can clean your brush. You can spritz it with water. Or you can just go in with a wet brush and keep it moving. Okay. I'm going to go all the way to the top. That's going to give us a nice, pretty ombre. All right. I'm going to let that dry. I like it. I'm going to leave it alone. Let's see. Let's blow dry it. Let's see how this plays out. I do have a few brush strokes. That's okay. That's just because my base coat brush is kind of coarse. It's a coarse hair brush compared to the ones that I like to paint with for like my angle brushes and my nice brushes. Oh no, I like it. I'm gonna leave it alone. Wonder what nail polish remover would do to the brushes. I have some old brushes. What kind of brush bristle is it, Terry? The bristle makes a difference. I've got some acetone and I've got nail polish remover. I just feel like those are going to be really abrasive and they're going to make your bristles brittle. But I can test drive that for you if you want me to, so that you don't have to sacrifice one of your brushes. I've got a million brushes here. I just need to know what type of bristle you have. If you have a nice sable bristle, kind of like the ones that we like to use, I don't know, that one, think of washing your hair with it, because that's kind of what sable bristles kind of mimic. It's almost like a hair texture. So if you wouldn't put it on your hair, I wouldn't put it on your brushes. Yeah, but you gotta think your paint is plastic. But if your brush is plastic, you wanna be careful. All right. So acetone would work. I mean, it would work for the paint itself. I'm just worried about your bristle. Acetone, okay. Okie dokie. So we've got our ombre done. Let's go ahead and paint, not the white yet. Let's go ahead and paint our cupcake bottom. That's going to be green. And just like with our door hanger, remember, this is a 3-piece series, right? It's 3 pieces of a decor set. We got a door hanger, an attachment, and a 6-piece garland swag, right? Banner. Today we're painting this in this series. But in the door hanger, we mixed 2 colors together to get the perfect shade that we wanted. And what we did was we took Hauser Medium and Sage Mint, and we mixed a 50-50 mixture of both of these, right? And that way we could use Hauser Medium as our shade color when we went into shade. And if we wanted to highlight, we could use Sage Mint because the color that we created is the middle of the 2 of these, right? So let's bring a clean part of our palette. Let's put a little bit of Sage Mint. Always mix more than you think you're going to need. This is not a very big piece, so I'm going to do about a dime, between a dime and a quarter size puddle of each one. Okay. I'm going to take the back of a paintbrush. Doesn't matter which paintbrush. You just want to mix. Okay. That's about a 50-50 mixture of both. Technically, we're making a lighter shade of Hauser Medium or a darker shade of Sage Mint. Here we go. Let's see, which brush do I want to use? I just don't want to use too big of a brush. Let's use the one that we base coated with. It's about a 3/4 inch angle. Still got a little bit of pink in there. Let's see. Okay, it's not sable, it's regular bristles. Okay, so it's a synthetic bristle. Okay. I'm going to turn this sideways. Just because I'm right-handed and I like to be able to see what my bristles are doing. So since I'm right-handed, I'm going to make sure that my project's on this side, my brush is on this side. And I'm just going to base coat and knock the majority of this paint off my brush and go towards the edge. Okay. You notice I started over here and I'm going to work towards these scalloped edges, and I'm knocking most of this. I'm dipping in my paint puddle, but I'm knocking it off over here, and then I'm going to go in that little scallop. That way I don't create a paint ridge. I'm letting the toe of this, which is the long end of this of the bristles, do all the work. I'm letting them get into those little nooks and crannies, and I'm letting it kind of glide across that scallop. Okay. Hands are a little shaky since I haven't eaten lunch yet. That's my fault. I should have planned better. I knew what time I was gonna paint this. So I should have had an earlier lunch, but then time got away from me. Next week, we're going to be working in little Miss Raylynn's room. She wants to rearrange her room, and I'm going to surprise her and let her add, kind of update her little decorations. She's had the same room decorations since she was born. So she's practically still living in her little nursery, and she's 6 now. And she does not want to venture away. Her room is decorated in mermaids. So she doesn't want to venture away from her mermaids. She just wants them to be a little bit more mature. She wants a big girl mermaid room. So we're going to do that. And today I went to Five Below and I bought her a disco ball. And I'm going to get her a little spotlight that we're going to use command strips on her ceiling, because her ceiling is at an angle, and we're going to put the disco ball above her bed. She wants a canopy. So I'm going to make her one out of sheer curtains and a hula hoop. And and I'm going to put the disco ball in the center of the hula hoop, and I'm going to have command strips with a little LED spotlight hitting the disco ball. She asked for a nightlight, but she said, I want a pretty cool nightlight. And she has a nightlight at Nana's house that's a mermaid. So she already has that one. And we have the same one from years ago, but it's been stuck in the closet. So I'm going to just update that part for her too. So we're going to make her a new disco lamp, a disco nightlight above her bed. And that way it's kind of like being under the sea. It will create all the waves and stuff on her with the light refracting off of the disco ball. All right, so we just did a second coat. And we're going to blow dry this completely. I wasn't being too persnickety about this right here, because remember, we're going to paint over this. We just want to be we want to be a little cautious, because white tends to let other colored paint seep through it whenever we put sealer on top of it. Okie dokie. I use rubbing alcohol to clean my brushes. Rachel, I do the same. And rubbing alcohol normally does the trick, especially with super dried on paint. I would really start with the rubbing alcohol, Terry. And then if that doesn't work, I would go get a little shot. They sell the little bottles of vodka. I would then try the vodka. And if the vodka doesn't work, I'll try the nail polish for you. Nail polish remover. Oh, no. Yeah, I hate it when it creeps up on you like that. I know. I'm excited to redecorate. She hasn't wanted to until just recently. It was about her birthday, and I think she got something for her birthday that triggered. It was like something new for her room, and she has no room to put it. So I think we're going to take. She wants to rearrange her room. She wants to I think we're going to take her dresser and put her dresser in the closet to create a little bit more room. And she has a play kitchen. She wants to put her play kitchen in her room. The play kitchen right now is in the hallway that leads to her room, which kind of gives her a little extra room in her bedroom. But it also, she loves that thing. So when she's playing, she's typically playing at the play kitchen, which puts her still in here without it being in the living room. Like I'm sitting at the kitchen table and I'm looking at the corner of her play kitchen. So whenever she's playing in her kitchen, she'll turn the hallway light on and she'll be at her kitchen at the sink doing something, and I can just kind of see her in her own little world. And selfishly, it's for me. I enjoy that. I enjoy watching her, but I totally get her wanting to kind of update it. So while we have the opportunity next week, I think that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to do a little bit every day. Okay, so I just added if you look over here at my palette, this is the color that we just created, and I added some white. I'm going to make an even lighter shade. I'm not going to mix it into the whole puddle because I may want to come back to this original color, but I'm going to make a lighter shade. I'm going to bring white into the corner of that and make an even lighter shade. Because what I want to do is I want to do what I call a peekaboo. I'm going to do a peekaboo of visual interest, of texture. I want to add some stenciling to make this piece not look so flat. Where the ombre did, that's what the ombre, oh, that's on a, I'm not even going to worry about that. That's on a seed. So we're going to paint over that anyways, but a little drop of green paint right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our stencil. This is the Show Offs brand. This is from Hobby Lobby. A lot of people ask me where I get this, and I will link this. If you put the word cupcake down in the comments, I'll make sure to come back and link everything that I talk about. So we've talked about the stencil. I'll make sure that I have the link for the stencil in there so that you don't have to go searching for it on the Hobby Lobby website. I don't get a penny from that, okay? So it is not an affiliate link. It is seriously just a save you time of searching on the Hobby Lobby website. So it's the Show Offs brand, animal print. What is that called? Stencil. I like this stencil, and I right now I'm talking with a company, and we are chit chatting and sending samples back and forth. And they've sent me some samples. I just haven't played with them yet, and I was gonna play with them because they did send me a cheetah print one. But if I didn't want to, it was big. It's for a bigger project, and so I was like, no, I kind of want this smaller one for this one. So we'll just stick with the Show Offs until I can play with it. I just haven't had time to play with it yet. So we're in the works of getting y'all someone that can provide you stencils, because y'all know how much I love a stencil. I don't want to have to work any harder than I have to. Stencils provide so much freedom in your artwork for making it easier. You don't want to have to work any harder than you have to. Look at that. Look how, okay, so from here, it went from drab to fab. Look at the transition. So that's why I use stencils. I don't think that there will ever be a time where I will not consider adding stencils to a project, just because it just amplifies the end product, and it creates that visual interest to where your eye never fully rests on one piece of the project for too long. Oh, sorry. Excuse me. Okay. And look how, I mean, it doesn't take long at all for you to really zhuzh it up. All right. So we're going to put this is not done yet. I will use this 3 or 4 more times before I throw this away. I've been using that same makeup sponge this entire series. My favorite makeup sponges I get from, there's 2 places I like to get it, but my favorite ones are from the Dollar General, not the Dollar Tree, and from Ulta. I love Ulta's. This one's an Ulta brand. Ulta's makeup sponges are the best. And they come in a huge pack to where, I mean, you won't run out of them for a while. You'll buy 1 pack and have it for a while. I know, Terry, she's growing up way too fast. It's breaking my heart. Mermaids are my favorite. I love mermaids. So part of y'all were asking about my tattoo yesterday. So part of my sleeve is going to be mermaid scales. So there is going to be mermaid scales in it, because I grew up loving mermaids. And she loves mermaids. And so Raylynn's little portion, because everything in my tattoo, I know it's not for, like I said, it's not for everyone, but it is for me. And every piece of the puzzle, because it's almost like piecing together a puzzle. Every piece of the puzzle is symbolic for something that I love or something important to me. And for Raylynn, it's going to be some mermaid scales. Okay, so I've got my white. This is just straight white. Use your favorite. I prefer cool white. It's my favorite white. And we are just going to fussy paint this, okay? This is the one time that we're going to sit here and just take our time. And I recommend taking your time and doing it right. Don't frustrate yourself at the end of the project because you rushed yourself at the beginning of the project. White always requires 2 coats. This is about a 1/2 inch angle, and it's almost a little too wide, but we'll make it work. We'll just go in at an angle. I'm using very little pressure. If you're wondering, when I pull towards myself, I tend to use a little bit more pressure, but when I paint away from myself, I tend to use way less pressure. Here's that holding your breath kind of moment. Don't forget to breathe. Don't hold your breath while you paint. I tend to do that. All right, so I've got the scallop painted. I'm going to let that dry a little bit, and I'm going to come back in and do the wavy line. Just going to be very careful not to run my hand through that wet paint. It's okay if you go over the line. This is paint by number. If you get etched blanks like I use, this is paint by number. It's not gonna be. This shouldn't be stressful, right? If you go over the lines just a little bit, don't fret. Nobody's gonna pay attention to that. You'll be about the only person who really cares. Okay. While that's wet, I'm going to pull that. That's a little bit of a paint ridge that I don't want to have to wait on drying. All right. Oop, I hear the mail truck. I'm so excited. I have a surprise for my son in the mail today. I don't want to say that too loud because he's always listening. I ordered him a new hat. He's not big on like hats, like baseball hats. I love baseball hats. Like I love a good cheeky baseball hat that has like a really little sassy saying on it, or really if it's really pretty. He likes baseball hats, but he has his favorites, and I ordered him a really special one for camp this year. I can't wait for it to come in, and I think it's coming in today. I think so. Shh, don't tell him. Oh, yes. Thank you, Terry. I've got them right here. I've got two different kinds. This one's not my favorite. This one's my favorite. But the store was out of these, and so I had to go, I think, back to Sam's. And Sam's, these were Walmart's, and this one was Sam's, and this one is not my favorite. Walmart's are my favorite. So when I grabbed my peppermints, I forgot my jar of peppermints has multiple, like 2 different kinds in there. I forgot that there were 2 different kinds, and I looked at it and I was like, man, no. And then as I threw them down on the table, I saw the one peppermint that's my favorite. I was like, yes, I'll have at least one. Ink Masters is at the convention center at the same time. Ooh, I'll spend some. I want to go. So when you go, let me know. I'll go walk around with you. So the person that did mine, okay, that did this one, and he'll do the rest of the sleeve, right? The person that did that one is a good friend of mine from high school, and we've kept in touch over the years. And he's award winning. He's got some pretty cool awards that he's won. I don't know if he's ever done like those big competitions, but I know that he's done some big local ones, and he's award winning. His expertise is realism. So I'm not big on traditional, which the one on my wrist is traditional. It's not my jam. I think they're pretty. I do think they're pretty, and that's what my dad likes. My dad likes traditional, like almost like Japanese style traditional. And then my brother likes traditional with a spin of realism. I just like realism because I think flowers are so much, they're just prettier when they look realistic. I looked at him. I said, "Don't make me a coloring book." He goes, "Oh, I would never." I was like, "I know, but don't make me a coloring book." I just didn't want. I didn't want heavy, dark lines, if that makes sense. Like I didn't want heavy, dark, thick black lines. I didn't care if it was dark. I didn't care that it was grayscale. I just didn't want dark, heavy black lines. And he did very good. He did not give me solid black lines. Okay. We're just doing coat number 2, white required, and it's just the nature of the beast when we're working with white. White just, it's streaky. It doesn't matter which one you're using. Even chalk whites, they're streaky. Just be patient with it and just remember, wet paint moves wet paint. So you really want to let each layer completely dry, even if it's dry to the touch. When you're working on a base coat like this, if you put wet paint over something that's not completely bone dry, you're still going to pull any amount of wet paint up, and it's going to make patches. And it's going to be streaky. You don't want to do that. So we're going to let that dry. If they pay that much attention in there. Oh, yes, Terry, I'm glad you caught that. I was this close to saying it, but then I squirreled. Yes, if they're paying too much attention to if you paint it over the line just at the slightest little smidge, they're not your friend, and we don't care what their opinion is. Oh, I don't think I'd get a tattoo there. I just want to go see. I want to go watch. I love watching people get tattoos. Anytime my friend goes and gets hers, we have a tattoo date. In fact, I've designed some of her tattoos, 2 of them to be exact. And so I have to show up to her tattoo to airdrop the design to the artist. You want something on your shoulder, but you don't know what? My husband said, ooh, a paisley would be pretty. A medallia. Okay, so the medallia style tattoos are really in. They're popular right now. And that I originally was going to go in and get that, but the more I looked at it, I was like, man, they're just dark, heavy lines. They're just, even if we do them thin, they're just dark. And I didn't want that. So I was like, they're beautiful. But I told him I want magnolia. I want to start with my magnolias, and we'll go from there. I know we're going to do some poppies for my poppy. We're going to do a hummingbird for my pawpaw. I've got my dad. So my biological dad, who passed away when I was little. I was a toddler. He is the hardest one for me to decide what I want to represent him. Granny, I have not decided yet. Whatever I do for my granny, who it was my papa's wife. I think I want like a really pretty feather, because she was a Native American. And honestly, I'm kind of steering away from the feather, but that's the only thing my brain can drum up right now for her. But she really didn't. I don't know. I'm still struggling with hers, and I'm still struggling with my dad's. I know my mama will be of course, Mama's still with us, so I'm not going to add her yet. Mama's going to be a ladybug. Pawpaw's going to be a hummingbird. And I think my papa is going to be poppies being added. Let's see. I know there's a Bible verse that I want to add, but I have time. There's time. Do it in snippets. But yes, a paisley would be really pretty. I want a 3D bracelet. Ooh, I have seen those, and they're so pretty. I kind of want one as an anklet. I kind of want one on my ankle. All right, so we have our scallops. Let's look at our mock-up and see where we're at. So far, this is what we have. We did our ombre up here. We have our cupcake wrapper that we did some stenciling on. We're going to let this dry and do some touch up wherever we need touch up, because remember, white is just a stickler. Oh, you know what we didn't do? We didn't do our splatter paint. That's easy. We can make this work. Let's blow dry everything, and come back and do our splatter paint. I'll show you how you can fussy paint some splatter paint in, okay? Hey, Lynn. I love the cupcakes. Y'all love the popsicles. I love the cupcakes. I like the popsicle too, but the cupcakes are some of my favorite of the design series. Y'all don't forget, put the word cupcake in the comments and it'll link you to all the things that we talk about. It'll give you the supply list for this, including the paint list. It'll get you access to the digital design so that you can either cut one out yourself or print one or resize it to whatever size you want. It'll also give you the link to where you can get the bundle, the blank bundle. We talked about, what else did we talk about? I think we talked about the spray bottle and the stencil that we used. So it'll also have the links to both of those. I was like, the word cupcake will give you a buffet of all the things that we talked about today. And you just pick from that buffet what you're looking for, okay? All right, so we're going to take Sunny Day. We're going to put it on our palette. It's just a little bit. We don't need a lot. And we're going to take some water. I'm just going to spritz some water in there, okay? Not a lot. And I'm going to see, which brush do I want to use? I think we're going to use this one. It's kind of a wide brush, but we'll make it work. All right, so everything is dry. It's all bone dry, okay? We should have done this before we painted anything on the bottom. Right after we did our ombre, this is when we should have done this, but I was a chatting. I was just chatting away. So I've got some watered down yellow paint. I'm going to add just a little bit more water to it. I want it to be a little liquidy. Okay. You can also use water from your paint cup, but remember that's got traces of paint particles in there, and we don't necessarily want to introduce dirty paint, right? You want another paintbrush. I prefer one that has a rubber grippy on it, but that's not required. I just feel like okay. Remember, it does not matter if it gets on the rest of your project. I'm going to show you how if we work fast, it won't make a hit. It won't matter, not one bit. Okay, so that's good enough. Let's go ahead and grab a baby wipe. Uh-oh. Oh, right here. Right in front of me. A baby wipe. Now, as long as that paint stays wet, you can remove it from wherever you don't want it. So all I'm doing is I'm just scrubbing it away. Just scrubbing it away. Like I said, as long as it stays wet, but splatter paint does dry fast, so you got to work fast. Otherwise, you could have just put a piece of paper down here and blocked off the majority of it. All right, there we go. There we go. All righty. What is the orange bracelet for? Oh, okay. So the orange bracelet. Okay, so it's always a different color. But during the summer, we always have individuals, whether they be their kids, middle schoolers, high schoolers, adults going on a mission trip. We always have kids either on a mission trip, at camp, adults on a mission trip, or go into camp to support the kids. You know, like there's always individuals off in a way. So what our church does is they put the names of individuals that are traveling at the time, whether it be I should have turned that around. But what they do is they have us grab a bracelet with their name on it, and as we are going throughout our week, whenever the bracelet catches our attention, we're just say a quick prayer for them, for their safety and for their whatever they're out for, that they have a good time, and that whatever that they're needing to hear or to say, or just for their well-being, right? So that's what that's for. I will probably have a different color one on every week for the summer. Almost every week of the summer. There's a couple of weeks where everybody's home. But right now, I think the little kids are at camp, I think. I think it's the little ones. I wasn't paying attention. There's there's so many trips planned this summer that I could not keep up with. All I know is when my kids are going to be out of town and when I'm going to be out of town, because we have a trip as well for we have a marriage retreat, but it's only a day. All right, so I mixed a little bit of black with my slate gray. Remember, I don't want to paint with straight up from the bottle black, right? Because if I do that, so I've got black and I've got slate gray. I'm just making a deep dark charcoal gray. Something that's a little lighter than straight from the bottle black. That's what I want right there. So that I can come back and use black as my shading color. If I were to paint directly with, I want this one. If I was to paint directly with straight from the bottle black, then I'm kind of pigeonholed into just a flat black. I can't go anywhere from that to add dimension. So I always like to use a gray in place of a black because I feel like I can always go back and add black to shade it and give it dimension. Okay, there's seed number 1. Okay. I don't like this one as much. I think I'm going to go back to this one. Okay. Let's see. Where's there another seed? Right here. Oh, looks like my package is here. I just got the notification. So I think that's his hat. I'm so excited. I can't wait. I can't wait to give it to him. So there is a mentor at our church that has been a friend of ours for a long time and has always kind of taken my son under his wing and treats him as his own. Has since he was 2. He's been in his life since he was 2. And we found out that this year for camp that they are going to be in the same small group. And this individual wears a particular hat. He has a very specific hat that that whenever I've seen this hat before, but whenever I see it, I think of this person. And I'm like, you know what? Since they're going to be, I'm almost certain he's going to bring this hat. Let me order one for Hayden and surprise him. All right, so there's 3 of our kind of teardrop shaped watermelon seeds. If you notice, I'm taking my time and doing a good job trying to stay in these lines. Even with my shaky hand, my hand's super shaky. I've had some issues with my hand all week this week anyways. So whether I ate or didn't eat, if it's going to be shaky, it's okay. Okay, that's good enough. Ugh, I don't like that one. It's okay. We'll add some dimension to it and kind of hat it a little bit. All right, we have 3 more. Okay. Sorry, this is probably not the most exciting part of the process. But we're about to get into the nitty gritty of shading. And y'all know that's my jam. That's my favorite part, is taking something that is already really pretty and taking it one step further, like giving it so much dimension with just a little bit of effort. Just a little bit of effort. But the thing that you got to do is you have to make sure you start off with a firm foundation of something that is base coated well. So that's what we're doing. We're taking our time and base coating something well so that when we go to add our shading, it looks good. Okay, one more. Remember, move your piece around. Don't feel like you have to keep it north and south like this the entire time you're painting. Move it around to where you're comfortable with it. So I like to be able to see where the toe of my brush is going. Let's see. Get in your comfort zone. Don't stress over it. I'm about to dip all my hair in my paint palette over here. There we go. Woo! There we go. Okay. We're going to let those dry. I'm going to paint our cherry up here. Well, that's a blueberry, not cherry. I'm going to take, let's see. Let me find a bigger paint dauber. I don't necessarily need a paint dauber, but why? Why not? We're going to take Blue Harbor and Royal Navy and mix them together, put them side by side. Okay, so Blue Harbor and Royal Navy. And we're going to make the perfect little blueberry. Okay, so we've got Blue Harbor, Royal Navy. Look at that. So I just did half and half, Blue Harbor, Royal Navy, and I just did a quick little turn. You see that? Look at that. That's a perfectly shaded blueberry. Now you do not have to use a paint dauber. I'm just using it because it is the perfect size for this one paint dauber that I have. Look at it. Oh, it's so cute. I'm going to put that in the water because I'm done with it. Or you can put it in a Ziploc bag. And then once, I'm going to do a few little touch-ups of this white, blow dry everything, and then we're going to add some shading. How are we doing? Are we hanging in there? We doing okay? Ghost it out. Yes. We're going to ghost all the things out. Y'all know me. There are little sections where I got outside of the lines. So like I said, don't stress over it. If anybody's judging it, they're not your friend. They should say, oh my gosh, that is beautiful. And keep their opinions to themselves if it's not positive, right? We didn't ask for a critique. We just asked if it was pretty. Sure is. Okay. There we go. Let's do the other side. Like I said, I like to use my angle brush because it gets right up in those little curves perfectly. Oh, there's some. I bet you this was the one that I painted the seeds with. There's some black paint creeping up in there. We'll just kind of erase that out. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Let's blow dry everything and let's add some shading. The shading is going to make it pop. It's just going to be that little bit of extra effort with just a little bit of paint that makes everything take shape. Oh, thank you, Sandy. Do you think you could do a watermelon popsicle? I want to make a watermelon welcome board with popsicle. Yeah, I can make you a watermelon popsicle. All right, Terry, sweet dreams. See you tomorrow. Thanks, Gail. I know, I'm loving my favorite part. I'm not gonna lie, it's probably the splatter paint that we almost forgot about. I'm so glad we went back and caught that. Okay, y'all, let's do the fun part. We need an angle brush. I still don't have my. I'm gonna have to remember that tomorrow. We need an angle brush. We need our straight from the bottle Hauser medium. Okay, y'all go see me struggle a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to take the toe of my angle brush and put it in Hauser medium. And I'm going to knock off the majority of this paint. I just want a thin layer. Okay. Normally I have a palette that I can work with, but I keep forgetting to bring my wax paper over here. I like to use wax paper. Let's see. We're just going to add this straight from the bottle Hauser medium, because remember we mixed a lighter shade of Hauser medium. We ghosted it out so that we could come back with straight from the bottle Hauser medium, so that all of our paints worked well together. Nothing clashed because they were all from the same mother bottle, right? Like we used Hauser medium and lightened it with Sage Mint, so that when we went back to shade with Hauser medium, it just worked, right? They don't clash because they're technically still they're part of the same paint family, color family, because they're made from each other, right? When you get to those corners, bring it in a little bit. Just always looks better. Look at me painting, getting paint on my tattoo. I walked around yesterday with little yellow splotches all over my arm, and I was like, oh gosh. Looks like I'm trying to fill in my own color over here. Okay, there we go. Little effort, little paint. Look how much that popped right there. We're going to go underneath this. So we need to blow dry what we just did, because if we were to go underneath this scallop, then with this still being a little wet, we would actually erase that because it would move. So what I want to do is I want to blow dry what we've already painted and lock it in, okay? Isn't it cute? I love it. I love it, Tamara. I'm telling you, it is starting to take shape now. We got it all base coated, and now we're adding our shading. So we're going to lock this in. It can still move. Don't think that we can't erase it away just because we locked it in. It can still move, but it is less likely to move with the little bit of work that we need to do this way if we go ahead and lock it in by blow drying it. It's like if we put enough water down, we can reactivate that paint and it'll still move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get my brush ready again. Okay, doesn't take a lot of paint. And we're going to turn our project sideways and add just a little bit of shadow underneath the scallop. The scallop sits on top of the green part. The white sits on top of the green. So this is like the wrapper on your cupcake. So if you had a real cupcake sitting in your hand before you took the first bite, what would you do? You would take that paper off, right? So this is that paper. That's the wrapper. And this white is kind of like those fancy collars on the cupcakes. It's kind of like a fancy collar. Now I'm using super light pressure. I'm not really overworking this here. There's not a lot of paint on my brush. And the real MVP over here is the water, okay? The real MVP is the water. And I'm not trying to make this a solid color. This is just a wash. That's all we're doing. We're just washing a little bit of paint. Okay? To kind of help pop that collar up a little bit. We're just adding a little bit of a shadow underneath it so that this collar lifts up a little bit. It's creating this optical illusion for this collar to kind of lift up because it looks like there's a shadow there. Our brains start filling in the blanks, right? It's like a lot of things that we look at, we're not really looking and processing the whole thing all at once. Our brains are really filling in the holes, right? Have you ever had one of those memes that come across where all the words are jumbled up and it said, if you can read this and you're a genius or something like that, and all the letters are jumbled up? Well, it's really your brain filling in the, you're not really reading a whole word, right? You're really just kind of glancing over it and your brain's pulling a memory. And so that's all your brain is doing here. This right here is lighter and this right here is darker. So your brain is pulling a memory of shadows. And those shadows tell your brain that this is 3D. This is closer to your face than this is. So this is further away. So it's kind of like that. It's real sciencey, but kind of cool at the end of the day, right? Let me catch up on a couple comments here. Okay, I think I'm all caught up. All right, so our next step, I really want to work on this collar, but I really want to work on this cupcake too. Let's go ahead and work on the collar. Let's put a little bit of gray underneath the cupcake because this frosting would tower over the collar, right? So let's get a little bit of light gray. I really would rather use something like sky gray, but I'm out of sky gray. So we're just going to take storm gray and we're going to add a little bit of white to it. So honestly, we're going to add, so I've got my white right here. I'm going to add, see that little dot of slate gray? We're going to make a lighter shade of white, a darker shade of white instead of a lighter shade of gray. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. Sky gray is my favorite gray to shade white with. All right. Again, we're going to do the same thing that we did. We're just rinse and repeat, just new colors and new shapes, right? Turn it sideways. We're going to go on this little wavy line, not the scallops, the wavy line. Let's see. I'm going to pull towards myself. And we're not going to make a drastic transition here. We're just give it, like I said, a wash of color. Okay. If it's not dark enough, let it dry and come back to it because paint dries about a half a shade darker than when it's wet. Paint dries about half a shade darker than when it's wet. So don't fret if it's not dark enough. Give it a second, let it completely dry, and then judge it, okay? And a lot of times you don't necessarily need to switch colors. You just need to add a second layer because, like I said, this is such a light layer of paint, just such a very translucent wash that it builds up on itself. So the more layers you put, the darker it'll get. And it'll just go steps darker. Nothing too drastic. Like I said, this is just a light wash. And I'm laying down the tiniest amount of water. Okay. Don't let me know if I lose you, okay? This technique is hard to explain. It's really something you just have to watch and do. It is really the hardest thing that I teach when it comes to explaining it. But once you get the hang of it, you're like, why did I make that harder than it had to be? Pressure, water, paint. Those are the three things that you can control, okay? If it's If it looks like there's a start and stop to your paint, like there's a start and stop, this should be just a gradient. There should not be a harsh end to where your gray paint stops and where your white paint begins. It should kind of wash over. That means you're not using enough water. Okay. If your if if the transition line, it fades just fine, right? But it's just too dark, you got too much paint. Way too much paint. So just use less paint. Okay, so paint, pressure, water. And if it's too saturated or your paint's not going as far as you think it should go, then you're using way too much pressure. You're depositing way too much paint in one spot. If you notice, I do short little brush strokes and then I come back and I smooth it out. I'm keeping this wet by working with it, right? There we go. Like I said, we didn't want a huge transition. We just wanted a little, I want this to be a little darker right there. I'm going to get my paintbrush. Do one more little swipe here. And I want to, just a little bit of water. A little bit of water. Oh, yeah. There we go. Perfect. Perfection. Let's see. So excited when I saw you would be at the, oh yeah, I'm going to be there. I don't know exactly what day I'll be painting because I think it's a 2-day event, right? I don't know exactly what day I'm painting, but I will be there. And just like Lauren said, I might sneak away for a hot second to go see that tattoo convention. Me and Lauren might have us a little side date. I'm excited about that. I'm glad you brought that up. I will be there. I haven't decided yet um, what day I'm going to come in. A lot of times I'll come in a day early and go do something fun. But with it being September, that's in the middle of school, so I don't know. I don't know what day I'm going to abandon Mr. Wallace over here to single dad it for a little while. But I've never been to the beach, so that's going to happen. So I might leave a day early so I can go down and hang out at the beach the day before. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so we've got wild berry up here, right? That's straight from the bottle, wild berry, right up here. And then we've also got this transition, this ombre down here. I kind of want to deepen the wild berry. That's where my brain wants to go, but I don't necessarily want to go too terribly dark. Give me a second. Let me look something up. Oh, perfect. It's already up. Okay. Let me look something up. Let me see if I have a color. Oh, no, they discontinued that color. It would have been watermelon slice. It would have been, but they discontinued it like the jokers they are. They take something super good that we all love and they say, we're taking it away. If y'all haven't heard, watermelon slice is going away. I do have berry cobbler, though. Let's try berry cobbler. Let's try this. This might be too terribly dark. Let's try berry cobbler. I just want a transition color for my watermelon up here where it's darkest. Okay. Let's test drive this. I can always use a baby wipe and take it away. Yeah, I'm going to use berry cobbler. That's good. I just didn't want it to clash. So I'm going to start here. Oh, yeah. That's pretty. I'm just going to kind of fade it out as I get to the tip here. I don't necessarily want to I don't want to outline the entire thing. I just want to pick a side and add a little bit of dimension on some of these curves. Okay. I'm going to pick this side over here, and I'm going to add a little bit of dimension to these curves. I'm going to add a little bit more water, thin this out a little bit. If it's coming on too heavy, if it's the color you want, but it's a little heavy and you want to make it a little bit more translucent, add water. It helps move that paint around. We're just wanting to deposit just the teeniest, tiniest little bit. Like I said, pressure, water, paint. Those are the three things that you can control and that you should alter. If it's not getting the end result that you're wanting, change up one of those. Change one until you're happy with the result. Okay. Let's see. Like I said, I normally like to use, okay, so I'm going to go under this little curly Q. This is in your template, so don't think that you have to freehand this. I'm just going to go under that little curly Q, and then I'm going to go switch sides and go underneath it on this side. I'm going to go underneath that blueberry. Okay, let's pick up a little bit more berry cobbler. I would normally use the wild berry straight from the bottle, wild berry, but that's the color that we painted with. And I didn't want to create a brand new shade. This berry cobbler, it'll get the job done. Like I said, I'm just doing it on the curviest parts because where there's a curve, your eyes naturally want to believe that it's going around. Okay. Naturally wants to believe that it's going around, like it's that cupcake is a round 3D object, and what we're doing is we're picking the curviest parts and we're telling our brain, yeah, you're right, we're tricking it. That optical illusion that I was telling you about, there's so many little optical illusions you can do with just adding a little bit of shading. It tells your brain, you're right, that's curvy, and that cupcake is 3D. And now we won't have to rely on our paint pens to add dimension, but you can. If you want to use your paint pens and do some black and white outlines, the mock-up, let me show you the mock-up. The mock-up has all the black and white outlines in there for you, okay? So don't feel like you have to master this just to do the project. You can go either way. This is just the route I like to go. This is the end result that I prefer. Let's see. This goes all the way inside. Again, this is all in your template. It's going to be, if you get etched blanks, this will be in your etched blank. Like I said, if you put the word cupcake in the comments after the live is over, I will come back and link where you can find anything that we talk about. If you want to order a blanks bundle, then the word cupcake will get you the link for blanks. It'll also get you the link to where you can find these designs. These designs are a gift from me to you. Let's see. Let's blow dry because I'm going to have to rest my arm on top of all of this and it's wet. So let's blow dry it because I want to shade down here too. Look how pretty it's starting to really pop. So when I'm done painting, even if this could be a year down the road. If you put the word cupcake in the comments, I'll come back and I'll be able to drop the information that you're looking for. What you'll do, what you'll get is a buffet. It'll be a buffet of links, and it'll be where you can find the digital downloads. It'll be where you can find where to order the blanks bundle. It will be like we talked about our Mister. I'll have that, the hobby, where you can find it at Hobby Lobby. Again, I don't get anything from all of that. That is just hey, here it is. Don't spend hours searching for it. Let's see, the stencil that we used. It'll get you the supply list, the paint list, all that jazz. It'll just save you so much time. of having to search for all the things that we talked about. I'll come back and link it for you. So don't forget, the word cupcake is our secret magic word today. Okay, so I went a little over the line there, and I didn't want it to lock in. So before it dried, I just took my finger and I wiped it away. You do the same thing with a baby wipe. Okay. Look at this. I want you to look at this. Okay. See this over here where it's kind of flat, but over here, all that cupcake kind of lifted up. That's all we're doing. That's the magic. Super simple. Doesn't take, look, that's a lot. That's a lot of paint. Do you see that? See that little splotch? I'm going to wet it. We're going to move it. That's the water, right? Little bit of paint, little bit of time. Just work with it until you're happy. Worst case scenario, if you don't like it, while it's wet, take a baby wipe, wipe it away. Honestly, until it dries, you won't have to work too hard to erase it. Okay, I think I want to do a little bit more right here. I want this to be as dark as that. So we're going to take our brush, add a little bit of that berry cobbler. Do, 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 do. I'm just giving shape to this cupcake. Just give it a nice little dimension. Making these little folds in the icing look three-dimensional. Now let's blow dry it and let me show you what it looks like. Because once it's dry, all the glare from the water that's on the cupcake will go away. Oh, it's so cute. All right, I'm going to take a little bit of white and add it to our Blue Harbor. All right, so we've got Blue Harbor. Okay. I'm going to take a drop of white. So this is just a drop of white, drop of Blue Harbor. We're going to mix it together. I'm going to create a highlight color. I'm going to do 2 drops of white. More paint than we'll ever need for this one little spot. I want to add a highlight to this. So we want to go about a shade or 2 lighter than the lightest color used. Okay. And Blue Harbor was the lightest color used. I'm going to take my angle brush again, right? That's what we've been using is our angle brush. Okay. Got a clean angle brush. Gonna load up our brush with the highlight color that we just created. Add some water just so that we have some room for movement. And on the very outer edge, okay, here we go. Just a little bit of extra oomph for that blueberry, right? Now, last thing that we need to do, I'm going to check out my mock-up. Yep, I think it's the last thing that we need to do. We need to give either a highlight or a shade to these seeds. And I think we're going to do shade. Let's do a little bit of black. Just a itty bitty bit. Just a tiny little bit of black. Remember, we made a darker gray for our seeds. So adding dimension to our seeds was not going to be really hard. We still had black that we could come in and we could use. And all I'm going to do is add just a little bit of black. To the bottom left of each seed. The trick is not adding too much paint to your brush, because black is a very highly pigmented color. It doesn't take much to get the job done. I'm going to bump down in brush size. I'm just going to use a flat brush. Let's see if I can get in those little nooks and crannies a little bit better. All right, let's go back. Okay. Okay. Sorry, I'm concentrating. These are really small elements. Okay. These are just slightly damp. They're not overly saturated. You don't want too much water on something this small because the water is just going to spread. So we have them slightly saturated, okay? Normally use an angle brush, but this is such a tiny little piece. I'm using a flat brush on this one. And honestly, I'm going to come back and I'm going to redo these. This one right here. I'm going to take my baby wipe and just wipe all that away. Remember, it's just a little bit of wet paint sitting on something that's already dry. So we're just going to wipe that away. Okay. Like the rest of them. And that baby wipe might have been just wet enough for me not to have to spritz the whole project. Okay. So I'm going to start at the bottom. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Much better. So much better. Remember, I'm just kind of getting the roundest part of the seed and bringing it up one side. There we go. Now I'm going to do the same thing with a little bit lighter on the opposite side. So I'm going to blow dry everything. And I'm going to add just a little bit of highlight to each seed. Just a little bit. Just a teeny tiny little bit. Everything needs to be bone dry. How's it looking, y'all? Okay, so I'm going to take straight from the bottle, slate gray. This might actually be a little too bright, but I think it's going to be, I think it'll work. I think it'll work in our favor. I'm going to take I'm going to just go from the tip. But we need a little bit of water. Okay. I'm just going to highlight the very top curve. This is a skippable step. You do not need this. This is just, my brain won't let me stop. It's that one step before messing it up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to tap it with my finger. Just kind of tone it down just a little bit. Kind of like concealer. I have way too much paint on my brush. Okay, let's go back over here. So we're just adding a little bit of a highlight, totally skippable step. Could have stopped at the shadow, which would have been just fine. Last one. Guess I'm just kind of toning it down, just kind of patting it out just a little bit. Oh, I love it. I love it. All right. Alrighty. And that's it, y'all. So we're going to let this dry completely. I'm gonna let it dry. When we wrap this entire series up, we're going to seal and add all the additional mechanisms. Like for this, I'm gonna use this as a interchangeable piece for my porch cleaner that's on my front porch. You could also use it for an interchangeable piece for a door hanger or a shelf sitter or a display piece. I'm going to use industrial Velcro. So later on, when we have this entire series completely painted up, we will finish out each piece by cleaning up edges and adding hangers and adding mechanisms like Velcro and stuff like that. If we want to add beads or some glitter or anything like that, we're going to do all that at once to all three pieces, right? So y'all don't forget, join me for our last installment of painting our 3-piece decor set. When we take our 6-piece garland and we paint them. So until tomorrow at noon, I'll talk to you later. Bye.